Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 124 of Matterhorn Mondays, coming to you live from the Outpost. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And today we are joined by none other, the legend himself, Mr. LMGVids, Chris with a K. He's back.
Hey, what's up?
The last
What's
time
up?
Chris...
Long time no see.
Long time no
Chris
see.
and the K back in the house.
I think the last time we had Chris on the show was when I was in Disneyland a few months ago, so it's good to have Mr. Chris back on the show. We do have some great, amazing topics that we're excited to get into to talk to you guys about. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyways, you guys know the drill. Links to all the Twitters, the YouTube channels, all that jazz will be down in the description below. And I think before we move on, I'm not sure if we've ever had Chris explain what kind of videos he makes on his channel. So Chris, why don't you, or as I should say, Mr. LMGVids.
I make good videos.
He makes good videos. Okay.
I make videos that are on attractions and shows that from theme parks all over the world. So I travel to Disneyland, Universal Studios, sometimes Legoland. I record videos and I just post them online. That's what I do.
Well, as you all know,
I don't know how else to really explain that.
Well, like ride-through videos is what he...
Ride-throughs, exactly. Thank you.
Sum it up in a few words, but you guys, I'm sure you all are familiar with Mr. LMGVids. Link will be in the description as always, as well as if you'd like to be wished a happy birthday live on the stream. You can do so by clicking the Google Doc down below, filling out the form, put your date, your birthday. You don't have to put your full name. You can put like your username or maybe just your first name. But yeah, we actually don't have any birthdays this week, so that's kind of surprising. This whole week is just a blank slate. Nobody in the entire history of the world was born during these next 7 days. So, kind of crazy, right, guys?
Absolutely crazy.
So crazy. But anyways, yeah, you guys know the drill. I feel like I'm forgetting to say something. Well, as you all know, shameless plug. Bra Moments podcast, you guys. New episode coming out this Wednesday, if y'all are interested. We're going to be doing a live taste test of, what is it here? It's called Thick Water. It's for our segment where we randomly review products from Amazon or whatever. It's not opened yet. It's like with the consistency of honey, but it's supposed to be water. So very...
Why would anyone drink that?
For the meme, Alex. We're reviewing it. That's what we're giving other people our opinions on whether or not they should buy thick water. It will be interesting, but anyways, new episode out this Wednesday. And as you all know, if you'd like to leave a voicemail, go ahead and call 575-386-5814. If you have any opinions on any of the topics we're going to be talking about today, give the number a ring, leave a voicemail. You can also go ahead and text the number as well, but do be warned, we do prefer voicemails because we love to hear your guys' voice here on the show. But before we get into anything else, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, you guys. Matt Snaps. I bought... What was the Snapple I bought yesterday? It was the kiwi strawberry Snapple. I bought like a big pack of it. But my dad has it in the trucks, and my dad's not here. So I have the Snapple apple flavor, which is like the worst flavor ever. So, I mean, I love Snapple apple flavored, but let's go ahead and pop this open for you guys. Oh my gosh. That was like a really good snap. All right. An egg that is fresh will sink in water, but a stale one won't. You guys, in case you didn't know. Oh, that just smells. I'm going to set that to the side for now. But anyways, I think it's time for everybody's favorite segment today, News from the Peak.
We now present to you News from the Peak.
For our first bit of News from the Peak today, it's finally happening, you guys. A Mandalorian meet and greet is coming soon to the Disney parks. I'm going to go ahead and quote from, let's see, Mr. Southern, the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Lucasfilm. He said, quote, "So the reality is we feel it's really important for our guests at the park to be able to meet all of our key characters on a first-hand personal basis. And so it's something we're working on. We think it's appropriate, and I think it's something that guests at the parks can look forward to in the very near future." So it's happening, you guys. The Mandalorian meet and greet. Mr. Chris, what are your thoughts on a Mandalorian meet and greet coming to the Disney parks?
I think it's an interesting thing because the thing is, Disney right now, they're trying to move away from the current trilogy. From what I see, they're trying to push the new trilogy. So it's kind of interesting to see that they're actually dropping in the Mandalorian. That's more closer to the original trilogy, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is one thing worth noting. Galaxy's Edge, the timeline, takes place between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. And like Chris just said, The Mandalorian takes place, I think it was 4 or 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to tie The Mandalorian into the new lore of Galaxy's Edge. Or maybe they'll just demolish Galaxy's Edge entirely and build Mos Eisley Cantina in its place. But Alex, what are your thoughts on the Mandalorian meet and greet coming to the Disney parks? Oh my god, Alex sounded like a robot just then. Did anybody hear that? Oh my gosh.
I can't understand. I thought that was me because I'm connected wirelessly.
Alex's internet is currently being hacked right now, you guys, as we speak.
It's going Skynet.
Alex cut the McDonald's Wi-Fi. That's really funny. Alex, can you hear us? Alex, can you hear us? We can hear you, but it's very robotic.
Wait, you're back.
Hello.
You're back.
No, I'm front.
Wait.
My back is back here. This is my front right now.
Wait, did everyone else hear that?
I could hear loud cyborg noises.
Yeah, you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too. Okay, that was really weird because I thought that was my internet.
Guys, this episode is going to be called Technical Difficulties, the show. But, Alex, what are your thoughts on a Mandalorian meet and greet coming to the Disney parks?
I think that's a good idea. I'm pretty excited about it. I might not go meet and greet with it. I don't do meet and greets really, except unless it's with Mickey Mouse. But yeah, I think that'll be cool for everybody who's a fan of The Mandalorian.
I agree. And for our second bit of News from the Peak, you guys, this is actually pretty epic. I think they did this the last time they brought Soarin' back. I could be wrong, but annual pass holders will receive after-hours access to Soarin' over California at Disney California Adventure Park. If you're planning on visiting the park on March 11th, 18th, or 25th, and if you're an annual pass holder, you get access to 1 hour after the park closes to experience this fan favorite attraction. And I have an honest, genuine question.
Do you have to pay for that?
I don't think so. I don't
think so. Last time they had an Indiana Jones after hours thing, and all you do is just reserve for it. So pretty sure it's not paid. Yeah, they're having an Indiana Jones one too, believe it or not.
They are
this year. Yeah, they are.
Chris, we have to go to that.
Yeah, they announced it on Instagram.
Oh, okay. I don't get those announcements.
Well, I have an honest, genuine question. We'll make it brief that I'd like to propose to you guys. What's keeping Disney from just keeping Soarin' over California? What's the motivation to change it back to Soarin' over the world? If, they've been bringing it back. This is, I think, the second or third time they've brought Soarin' over California back just because, the guests do love this version more. What's keeping Disney back from just keeping this permanently instead of changing it back to Soarin' over the world?
What I think it is? You notice how they designed the new soaring sign to be able to have those chain links that they can just switch out where it says over the world or
Yeah.
over California. I think that they knew ahead of time that they were going to constantly switch them out and I think that the reason why they want to switch them out is to change things up once in a while. Because if you think about it, the California parks, they get mostly locals and annual pass holders, and changing things up for them by offering over California once in a while helps keep a consistent amount of people coming in. I mean, look at it. They're bringing the over California version in a time of the year that is kind of the slower part of the year. So that's going to bring in more people who want to see the over California version again. So I think it's to allow it. I think it was done on purpose to allow them to change it up to bring more people into the park consistently. That's what I think.
Okay. Interesting. Chris, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I'm pretty sure they're just doing it to take away the crowds from Disneyland. Because notice how they only bring back Soaring over California when they have a new thing opening. So last time they did it, that was when I think Star Wars Land opened. And now they're doing it when the parade is opening over in Disneyland. So they're doing it just to decrease the crowds over in Disneyland. That's the main reason. And once the crowds die down, they just pluck it out. And I'm pretty sure next time they're bringing it back is when Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opens. Once that opens in Disneyland, they're gonna open it once again. Soaring over California. It's just kind of a way to deter the crowds away from Disneyland. That's my guess.
I have to agree with that.
That's a fair assumption as well. Well, anyways, like I said, if you're planning on visiting the park March 11th, 18th, or 25th, and if you happen to be an annual pass holder, you can stay an extra hour in the park, in the California Adventure, that is, to ride Soarin' over California. I'm not really sure like what the logistics of it are going to be. There weren't any really specifics on the article that I read. Chris said last time you had to reserve it or something. I'm not 100% sure. So
yes, you did. You had to reserve it last time.
So I guess if you are interested in this, I'm sure there will be more information coming soon. But for our final bit of news from the peak, and we're going to be touching on this in Alex in the Parks as well, I believe. A new floral area has been added to the entrance of Tomorrowland, and this image is courtesy of Mr. Alex, the historian himself, from his Twitter. It's a really great image, actually. It captures the what's like the color rainbow reflective panels really well as the new plants that they've added, and it's kind of interesting to see how Disney has been sort of, I don't know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to reference back to the glory days of Tomorrowland, because as you can see from this image here as well, I believe these same, or at least similar structures used to exist in that same area, but they were, I think, like water fountains or something?
They
like a water
were.
area.
So in early 67, they started off as like a dancing water feature. And then towards the 70s, all the way till they were taken out, I want to say in the early 90s, they were just planters because they just decided to stop taking care of the fountains. So they became planters. But yeah, so it seems that Disney has still opted to keep them as planters because the fountains were just too expensive to take care of. I don't know. But nevertheless, I still think it's really cool that they have this like nod to the past right there. And it gives me hope for the future.
Yeah, now I might have a controversial opinion about this. It could just be me. The pictures I saw didn't do it justice, but I feel like they look kind of ugly and out of place with just like these random floating, I don't know, like things there with like plants. It just kind of looks weird to me is all I'm trying to say.
No, it looks really cool in person. Like it's okay. So one thing my picture doesn't capture is the little garden that's below it. So like, because there was a bunch of people standing there and the sun was only hitting this panel, but not the one on the other side of the entrance. So I couldn't take the picture of the one on the other side of the entrance, but there is a garden there right beneath these tall tower planters, and the garden looks really cool. It's full of like these different colored succulents and stuff, so it really like all ties together really well. But
Okay.
actually, I show the garden in the Alex in the Parks.
Oh, well.
Alex in the park.
In the parks. Well, I guess
that's the best. That's the best intro you could ever imagine right there.
No, I think the Matt Snaps is the. Oh, you didn't play the Matt Snaps, Matt.
I pushed the button, but it's not playing.
A whole wide world of knowledge waits underneath the cap. It's once again time this week for Matterhorn Night Snaps.
It is really amazing. I completely forgot to play it. I'm so sorry. But there it is now. And now it's time for everybody's favorite segment. Actually, a really great segue because, like I said, Alex is going to be going in depth on these new planters in Alex in the Parks. So let's get into Alex in the Parks. Alex in the Parks. All right, and Mr. Alex, what can the viewing audience and listening audience as well expect from this clip from Alex in the Parks today?
So in this clip, you'll be able to see the new planter boxes we were just talking about, as well as just another recap on the stairwell that's being constructed at the exit of Space Mountain, some more updates on other random construction things going on, some new food at Tropical Hideaway, and some stuff happening at DCA.
Oh, Alex went into DCA this episode. You guys, I'm sure you're in for a treat. Oh, but anyways, let's go ahead and get into this week's Alex in the Parks.
Well, we're here at the entrance to Tomorrowland, and here's a throwback. They have reinstalled these planter boxes that kind of stand on top of these poles. Now, back in 1967, when they first built these panels and stuff for the new Tomorrowland, there was a set of fountains. They kind of looked like this. They were basically like large bowls, and they spilled over into each other with like some dancing water and stuff. Looked really neat. But then sometime in the 70s, all the way through to the end of when they took them out, they just kept them as planters. So they were like plants that were just like this in a bowl. And so this is kind of like a throwback to that. But I mean, anyway, it looks really amazing. The color of blue is so vibrant. And look at the plants down here. They chose all kinds of like drought-resistant plants and stuff, such as succulents, and then these grasses in the back. Anyway, this looks really amazing. I am just so it's just like it's literally just like a throwback to what it used to be. All right, we're here by the exit of Space Mountain. Not much has changed on this stairway since the last time I showed you last week, except that they added this really cool screen which shows you the wait times for the Tomorrowland attractions. There was a temporary wait sign board that was out here, but this is the permanent one, and it looks to me like it was made out of the original poster board sign that they had out here for Captain EO. So when Captain EO was here, they built this sign, and it just held poster boards. But now it holds like a big screen, which is really neat. A really great reuse of this original, not maybe original, but old Tomorrowland feature. And then, of course, like I was saying a long time ago, they originally opened with just 3 of these kiosks, but now there are 5 of them in total. So that's pretty cool. So we'll probably see a lot more Fast Pass centralization in Tomorrowland in the future. But I was just thinking about that Tomorrowland entrance I just showed you, and the throwback to, you know, the 1967 Tomorrowland. And then I was just also thinking about Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland, where they're transforming it back into its, you know, early 1971 look. And I'm thinking, what if that's what's going to happen to our Tomorrowland? I'm really happy about that. It makes me happy. I mean, things like this might be either reused or, you know, used as inspiration. So, you know, I'm really excited about the future of Tomorrowland now. So the wait for Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster says it's 20 minutes, but after looking at this line and how it extends out that way towards Pixie Hollow, it looks more like a 30-minute wait to me. And then as I was standing here, I kind of noticed this pillar right here, this top section, which is completely taped up with white duct tape. I mean, wow. And still not fixed. The wait for the Jungle Cruise says 15 minutes, but the line is extending upstairs over there, and the line is all the way out here in the middle of Adventureland. Not to mention the Indiana Jones Adventure right next door says it's already garnering a 40-minute wait, and I can already see that the queue is completely filled up. So that looks to me like more like a 45 to 50-minute wait. It's busy today, folks. Okay, Chris and I are at the Tropical Hideaway. We're trying the brand new pork lumpia and their regular beef bulgogi bao. But first I want to try the lumpia. We're going to try it without the sauce first. This is the lumpia, sorry. I'm not even pointing the camera at the right thing.
Lumpia kind of tastes like it's from like a really, almost like a cheap Asian place. Hard to explain.
Really?
Let's see. It's bad. It's kind of like, oh, it's bad.
What?
Really?
This is good.
Really?
Wow. There is a lot of flavor in there. And it's like sweet and spicy and sweet. And it's pork. It's like, that's good. I mean, it's not worth the price, but nothing at Disneyland is. I'm gonna open up this sauce here and see what it tastes like with the sauce. It's like a sweet and spicy sauce. That's really good. My God. Okay, this is good. I do highly recommend this. This is nice. All right, we're walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and yeah, they have this big construction wall back there as they're repainting the backside of the sky thingy. Looks like the sky, kinda. All right, we're out front of Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the rescue, and we found the Fast Pass. It's this little cart here underneath this umbrella. It's a bit anticlimactic, right? We kind of expected some brand new kiosks and stuff. But I mean, then again, when you think about it, why did we expect that? You know?
It's Disney.
Whatever. This isn't Disney. This is wannabe Hollywood. And by the way, the line that we're looking at right now is not the standby. That's the Fast Pass. Well, we're here at the entrance to Tomorrowland.
All right.
That's it?
Well,
I thought it was more.
That was Alex in the parks, and I'm extremely surprised that Alex, Chris, you managed to drag Alex into DCA this time. So
I
that's a win
did.
for
Yeah, I was
everybody.
very surprised too.
Well, Matt, I don't know if you know this, but last week I also did Alex in the Parks in DCA.
Wait a minute. Let me think back. Last week, that was 7 days ago. That was, I can't remember what we talked about last week from Alex in the Parks.
I don't remember, but I showed the construction going on at the Marvel Land, and then I showed the construction going on behind Luigi's Rollicking Roadsters. So Matt doesn't watch my Alex in the Park. Actually, folks.
Oh, no, he doesn't?
No, he doesn't. You see, I send Matt my Alex in the Parks video, usually like an hour or so before the podcast, which I know doesn't sound like a lot of time, but being that it's only a 6 minute, up to 6 minutes, I usually cut it if it's longer than 6 minutes. He has the time to watch it, but does he? No. No, he doesn't.
I watch it live on the stream to get genuine reactions.
You do, and obviously you don't pay attention because then you would have known that last week I was in DCA as well. So, yeah.
Alex out here flaming me. I cannot believe it.
Now I have to deal with this. I mean, I thought he was my friend, you know.
Oh gosh. Well, All I'm thinking
Disney
about right
drama
now.
at its finest.
Disney drama. Well,
I'm gonna
anyways.
take to Dis Twitter now.
Dis Twitter. Well, anyways, that has been this week's Alex in the Parks. Thank you again, Mr. Alex, for these lovely clips.
My pleasure.
Guest star Chris as well. That pink thing isn't Chris. Chris is behind that. Is that Kirby? Is that a Kirby plush?
Yeah, this is a Kirby. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
What did you do to him? He looks like he's dead.
Looks like you beat him and he's dead
I
now.
put a hole through him.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Well, that sure is something. Well, anyways,
it's like one of those snuggle things. You put your hand through it, and it's warm.
Oh, it's like it's one of those hand.
Yeah,
I forget what they call it, like a hand muff or something.
Yeah, hand muff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't physically put a hole through him, but
I mean, it looks a little weird. Like it looks like you stuck your hands through his ears and just yanked out his insides.
Does Kirby have insides? Well, anyways, that has been Alex in the Parks, and we do have some great topics that I'm excited to get into today. First topic, Cinderella Castle getting a makeover in the Magic Kingdom. Second topic, Rise of the Resistance not included in this year's Star Wars Nite? Clickbait title. And finally, we are going to be getting into a discussion, should Disneyland become a resort destination? That's sort of a continuation of what we were talking about last week with Jeremy. It's kind of contradictory because it's already labeled as the Disneyland Resort, but we're going to get into it, you guys.
Matt, you got it wrong. It should Disneyland have become.
Oh, yeah.
That's much.
I was thinking, yeah,
because it's already a resort, but the question is, now that we know what it's like as a resort, should it ever have become a resort?
That's a much better question. I must have missed that have part, but anyways.
Yeah, I was like, what kind of
should Disneyland become a resort? Well, anyways, let's go ahead and get into our first topic here. I'm sure you guys have seen this already all over Twitter. Cinderella Castle at the Magic Kingdom to receive a quote-unquote royal makeover, and I'm assuming this is to honor the 50th anniversary of the Walt Disney World Resort. It didn't say that specifically in the Disney Parks blog article, but I'm just assuming that that's what this is for. In honor of the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World, the Magic Kingdom's castle will be painted they call it a quote rose pink, with new gold accents on the spires, as well as darker blue turrets. Now, it's kind of a controversial thing whenever any discussion of like a castle makeover, castle expansion comes up. There is a big hullabaloo. Is that the right word? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
There's a big hullabaloo when it was announced that Disneyland's castle would be getting repainted. And now look at where we are now. We're all in love with the castle again. It looks beautiful at Disneyland. Now, the same thing's happening here in Walt Disney World. Now, I do have to say, I'm a big fan of this change. It's subtle enough, I feel like, for most people where they wouldn't necessarily notice the change if they weren't specifically told it. I feel like the one thing that really is going to stand out to people is the terminology that they use, rose pink. They're painting the castle pink is really what they're, like a very, very light shade of pink, as you can see here. I have a comparison.
They're just taking the Apple route, Matt.
The Apple route. Oh, yeah, they're making their rose gold iPhones now. Well, I do have a comparison picture here. Here is what the castle, I should say. Cinderella Castle in Walt Disney World that's what it currently looks like. Very white, beige, I guess, if that's the right word to use, the right color. Very gray, very light blue, as the experts would say. But as you can see,
what's funny? What's funny about that is those roofs, when they were last painted, were a dark blue.
Really?
They were a very dark blue, yes. And so they let them fade to that color.
I think it looks nice faded like that.
I think the last time that castle was painted was probably in 2010 or maybe before that, just before that.
Mm.
And they let it for 10 years just sun bleach. They did not even the bricks were a little bit darker. So that is not the color that they painted that castle 10 years ago. Mm. That is it sun bleached. So it looks
I think
awful.
It looks nice. I think it looks nice with the light blues and the I mean,
No, if you look at video or pictures that are up close to it, you can see that it's like blotchy, like it's not evenly bleached. It's very unevenly bleached and gross looking. It looks like it's been abandoned.
Oh my gosh. Well, as you can see from this comparison image, you can't really this is of course just concept artwork that Disney has put out. Yeah, so as you can see from here, you can notice.
Matt, how are you sure they didn't paint that overnight and then paint it back again before they opened the park just to take the picture?
Facts. Alex, big brain thought right now. I mean, it's completely possible that they painted the castle these new colors just for the picture, but yeah, you can kind of subtly see the.
Matt, how do you even know there even is a castle in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, have you been there?
I was there a few years ago. I haven't been there recently. The castle could be a hologram by now, for all I know. Projected underneath the dome that Walt Disney World is in. But yeah, you can very lightly see the, what do they call it? The rose pink color added to where like all the beige and the white was before. And yeah, and there's already actually been some progress made on the castle. This image comes to us from Blog Mickey. Wonderful website. I've said this many times. As you can see here on the right side is the current, updated paint scheme that they've been working on compared to the, I guess, faded, as Alex called it, faded area to the left. You can see here on the right side, it's way, way darker, the blue. And I'm not sure if all the gold stuff up there is new. It could be new. I could be wrong, but Chris, what are your thoughts on this, I guess, controversial makeover of Cinderella's castle? Because I did see on Twitter there are a lot of people having a big fuss about this whole thing. So Chris, what are your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, it's just a paint job. I don't really see a big deal, the big deal behind it. Like, as long as they don't like ruin the actual integrity of the castle, like paint it like how they did a couple years ago for the 40th, I think it was, like paint it like a birthday cake. That looked terrible. As long as you don't like completely destroy the integrity of the castle, I'm perfectly fine with like Disneyland's castle. Even though they kind of added that really weird thing where they made the paint lighter on top to make the castle look taller, even though the trees around there aren't lighter on top and they're much taller than the castle. It looks really weird. Outside of that, they respected the original intent of the castle and it looks really nice. So I personally don't really mind.
Okay. Alex, what about you?
I really like this new paint scheme that they want to do because first of all, if you remember like what they did to Disneyland's castle, okay, well, there's kind of this conversation kind of goes two ways. So what they did to Disneyland's castle was they painted a lot of it like this, like almost hot pink, and then there was like a lot of deep blues, and then, or not deep blues, there was like a teal color, I'm sorry, and then there was like a bunch of gold, and then they put like crowns and bunting all over it. I thought that was a bit overdone, the crowns and bunting and stuff like that. Like that was just a bit over the top, I think, and it just made it look weird, because you don't put that on like even fairy tale castles, I don't think, not in my head at least. But so that being said, I think that what this concept art shows is a much more subtle 50th anniversary look for them, and I think it's great. I think it comes off really well in just the subtle shades of gold, and then the areas of the castle that would be white are now going to be like this kind of rose color. I think it's nice. I think all of it's nice. But another YouTuber, Mickey Views, was saying that this is just the way it will look later this year. He's saying that next year, when they get ready for their 50th, then will come the crowns and bunting like they had for Disneyland.
Okay.
So, because he was saying that when they dress it up for Christmas this year, there won't be any time to take down the Christmas decorations, repaint the whole thing, and have it ready in time for their 50th. So he thinks that they're painting it like this year ahead of schedule, so that way all they have to do is install the crowns and bunting next year. So I'm hoping that they don't install crowns and bunting, because the way it looked at Disneyland was okay. Like it was borderline for me, but I think that it was just over the top. I think that a nice paint scheme like this would have sufficed. I think it looks great.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I remember it was Mickey Views a while back that did predict that they were going to be painting the castle rose or like a shade of pink, and everybody made fun of him for it. But look at where we are now. Yeah, he knows things, you guys, in case you didn't know.
He reminds me of me, actually. If you think about it, like here I am telling you about stuff that's going to happen at Disneyland, and then everyone is like, "No, Alex, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a historian." And then and then it happens.
I didn't know everyone was Irish, Alex.
That's not an Irish accent.
It sounded pretty Irish.
You sounded like a pirate almost. Pirate.
No,
Alex.
it was like a lazy.
Okay.
No, it was like a lazy
Continue your thought before you forget, Alex. You're gonna forget.
Okay, whatever. You're right. I am gonna forget if I don't just. Okay, so, but then what happens is then Disney starts actually doing the things I say that they're going to be doing, and then people go, "Oh, well, I guess he was right." You know.
Funny how that works.
Isn't it? It's like when I was talking about the Fast Pass. Oh, Fast Pass makes lines longer, and everyone's like. And then all of a sudden they start adding Fast Pass to Autopia and Monsters, and then now those lines are like 3 to 4 times longer than they ever used to be. So
honestly, sorry, keep going. Sorry.
Anyway, like I was gonna say, I think Mickey Views. I think he knows things.
Mickey Views is actually really Bob Iger in disguise. He just puts on the mask.
It is.
Yes.
And takes his still.
Honestly, I thought the Fast Pass ordeal was a common sense. I mean. I didn't know people actually believed that it actually, increased the times. I mean, decrease? Like, I thought it was common sense that, like, Fast Pass increases the wait times of the rides. That was, Anyways.
In the chat, unidentified
it's a little contract when
he says, it's almost like Alex is a Disney historian. Bingo!
Ain't that funny? Well, he is called Alex the Historian, so, I mean, I guess that would make sense. But anyways, that does it for our first topic of the day. Moving on to our second topic. Rise of the Resistance, you guys. Have you heard of that? I don't think... It's sort of low-key, Rise of the Resistance. Soft... it's been having some soft openings recently. Not a lot of people have been coming out to ride it because it's been really, low-key. I'm joking, of course. I feel like... Alex looked confused because, like, I was telling him the truth.
I'm confused what you're talking about.
Well,
I don't even know.
He's trying to say Rise of the Resistance isn't popular, but it actually is popular.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Well, Rise of the Resistance will not be included in the Star Wars Nite happening at Disneyland. And for those of you guys unfamiliar with these special Disneyland After Dark sort of upcharge special events that they have, Alex, would you mind giving a rundown to everybody what these events basically are? I sort of just dropped that bomb on them. I was hoping you know, but
no,
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Well, Chris, why don't you go ahead?
Basically, it's like one of those after dark parties where you go there, you pay extra money. I think this one costs $150. It might be less. $100 and something. You go in there, you get to meet Star Wars characters, you get to ride some rides, you get to have special food, special merchandise. That's basically it. You basically pay money to pay more money.
Basically. Yeah, so I think you get like 3 or 4 hours like in the park. I think like Disney kicks out the normal guests, and then once it's time for the event to start, everybody who has purchased tickets to the event can all...
They have a mix-in around 4 o'clock. And then 7 o'clock is when, because when they have the mix-in, you get people who are going in for the event, they get a wristband, usually. And by 7 o'clock, they kick everyone out that doesn't have a wristband.
Okay.
I might be getting my times wrong, but it's about that.
Okay.
See, now, I don't know if people agree with me on this, but first of all, I feel like Rise of the Resistance should be open for that event. Like you're paying a ton of money to go into the park for a Star Wars experience, and you don't get to ride the most amazing Star Wars ride ever built.
Yeah.
That seems kind of wrong to me. It seems not fair.
But Alex, they're having a galactic dance party where you can bust a move at an epic event to make Star Wars history.
I didn't think about that. That's so much
Wow,
better.
that is so much better. I'd totally go there and spend $20 for a meal instead of riding one of the best rides there. Wow.
Well, let's go ahead and give a rundown of what this event will actually include before we get into our thoughts on why we think, or I guess just our thoughts in general on Rise of the Resistance not being included. So I already mentioned a galactic dance party, bust a move at an epic event sure to make Star Wars history. You can have special character encounters, mix, mingle, and meet with some of your fave. This is coming directly from, I think, the Disney Parks blog. They spelled fave, F-A-V-E. Is that how that's spelled? It's not a word, is it? Fave isn't a word, isn't it? It's like
it's not, but the millennial way to spell it is F-A-V.
F-A-V, yeah.
Not F-A-V-E. Yeah.
Shots fired, Disney. Mix, mingle, and meet with some of your fave Star Wars characters throughout the evening. Star Wars fireworks. Fan of the dark or light side, watch an amazing pyrotechnical spectacle. Pyrotechnical spectacle. Illuminate the skies. Strike a pose. Let Disney PhotoPass photographers capture shots and incredible memories against event-themed backdrops. Tunes from Batuu. Get into the Star Wars groove with music playing throughout the night. Themed eats as well. Gobble goodies that are out of this world. Purchase event-inspired menu options at select Disney Park location or Disneyland Park locations. Limited release merchandise. Attendees will have the opportunity to purchase Disneyland After Dark Star Wars Nite items while supplies last. After hours access to attractions. Ride some of the park's classic attractions throughout the event, usually with shorter wait times. Here's the bomb that was dropped. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance will not be available during this event due to standard required maintenance time. And as well, they will have commemorative keepsakes. Receive a souvenir, credential, and event guide, as well as unlimited downloads of Disney PhotoPass taken during the party. And finally, inspired attire. Dust off those lightsabers. Dress up as your fave, again, F-A-V-E. Dress up as your fave Star Wars characters and join the costume cavalcade. See costume guidelines below. I don't have the costume guidelines on hand, so if you guys are interested, I'm sorry. But yeah, as it says, Rise of the Resistance will not be available during this event to standard required maintenance time. So I guess it is worth noting that this event doesn't necessarily take place after the normal operating hours of Disneyland Park. I could be wrong. Chris said they normally start around 7, and I think they last around 3 to 4 hours, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
It usually ends around 1 o'clock.
Okay, well, I mean, even then, Disneyland is normally open till 1 o'clock, and
Yeah.
Don't they still call boarding groups even up until that late at night for Rise of the Resistance?
Yes, usually they go up to end the park. Yep. Park closing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's weird because the ride normally operates into that late into the night, but here they're citing that it's not because of maintenance requirements. So
I'm pretty sure I know why, but I'll save it for the discussion we're gonna have.
Okay, well, Alex.
What discussion?
This discussion.
The discussion I'm opening right now. I'm opening a big can of discussion for everybody. So, Alex, why would you think Disney would not have Rise of the Resistance open for a Star Wars themed event that you have to pay extra money for, $100 to $150 per person? Why would you think they would close or not have Rise of the Resistance available when it normally operates into park closing?
The first thing that comes to my mind is that it takes a lot of oh god, right now I have to yawn. Okay. The first thing I think of is that it's because it takes a lot of cast members to operate the attraction, and that costs them a lot of money. Now, I wouldn't say it costs them so much money that they can't profit off of it, but I think that it reduces their profit margin on this event a lot. And so I think that they felt like they could just save a lot more money if they just don't offer Rise of the Resistance. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that question.
Okay, Chris, what about you?
I think it's just they want to keep Rise specifically only the boarding pass, using only the boarding pass system, because the boarding pass system actually makes them a lot more money than if people actually stand by queued. So the thing with the boarding pass, people, they walk up to get the boarding pass, and then you go, oh, I'm number 70 something, and then they end up staying in the whole park the whole day. So they end up going on other rides, increasing the other rides times. They end up going to eat in the parks. They end up going to buy merchandise. So they stay much longer, and at basically no cost of Disney. With the special ticketed event, it's only for a couple hours. So most people, they go, oh, I can just buy the special ticket event and go on Rise of Resistance. I don't need to buy anything. So the idea is, oh, I'm going to buy it. And so I think they're going to lose money if they do the special ticketed event. So if they close Rise of Resistance during the special ticketed event, people would go for other reasons outside of Rise. So they'll go to experience a dance party. They'll go to buy the food. They'll go to buy the merchandise. So I'm pretty sure they closed it because they don't want people like buying a ticket only to ride Rise.
I have a question. Okay, so in the chat, a YouTuber named Lucky Rez asks, as far as I know, Rise of the Resistance ends boarding at 9 p.m. regularly, no matter what the park closing time is. So my question to answer that question would be, okay, if they end the boarding group calling at 9 p.m., does the ride still stay open till midnight? How does that? Do they close the ride after that last boarding group is in the ride? Because
no, they definitely don't. No, because my friend and I, we were boarding group number 80 something within the first week of opening. 80 something. We rode the ride at 10:30. I remember specifically 10:30. They closed the ride at 101. That was at about 11 something, because they want to get they close the ride when they get through 150 reservations. That's what they have. So once they finish 150, they close the ride. Okay. That's the idea.
But I heard that they only sometimes they'll only get through like 83. Like I heard this one person was telling me that they had a boarding group of like 82, 83, but they stopped at 82.
Yeah, that's when the park closes. That's way too late. That was in the first couple of weeks of the thing running. Like, let's say for us, we're 70 something. We got to ride around 10 something. Right now, they're literally getting through 70, 80, 90 at like, I don't know, 5 or 6 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock. So they're much more efficient now. That's why they're closing earlier and earlier. It's not because the fact they're closing early because, before the park closes. It's because the fact they're getting through the boarding passes so fast now.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I still think that they should have the ride open for this event.
I think so too. It's just you're going to lose money on it for sure. Not lose money, but not going to gain as much money. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm following. But yeah, it is kind of... it's called Star Wars Nite. So you'd assume the big new Star Wars ride will be open for the event. You're paying like however much money it is, $100 to $150. And someone said in chat, Bianca said, I know this event is sold out. I wonder how many people bought tickets thinking that they could ride Rise of the Resistance and will be disappointed. So yeah, I guess Chris sort of summed that up as well.
A lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess you guys...
When is the event? Because when the event happens, check Twitter. I swear, you're going to see at least like 100 comments saying, oh my god, I can't ride Rise of Resistance. This is a ripoff.
This is a ripoff. Let's see.
It is a ripoff. That's not fair.
It is a ripoff.
That's like buying the tickets to the Haunted Mansion event and then they go, oh, by the way, Haunted not open.
No, that's a fair comparison.
Yeah. If they had done that, people would have been insane. People are insane for going to that thing, but still, people would have been going crazy about that.
August 27th. is when this event happens.
What?
So
That's late. That late?
Yeah, it's a long ways
Whoa.
from now. August 27th of 2020 is when Disneyland After Dark Star Wars Nite is happening. Yeah, so I mean, I guess they might have time to change their minds, maybe, but I don't really. I mean, they already officially put out that it's not going to be open, so it's kind of.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think that they would.
In the
go back.
chat, Abram Garcia says maybe they need maintenance time during the night to prep for the next day. I mean, maybe, but the thing is what we're saying is if the event takes place and ends before the normal closing time of Disneyland, which is midnight, then. And the ride operates up until midnight, basically, or at least close to it. Why wouldn't they operate the attraction through the party like they would any normal day? Because they would still have the same amount of time. I'm sorry, to maintenance it. I think this is a money-saving opportunity.
I guess it could also come down to the actual boarding groups themselves, because if you get to the park, say that August day, whatever date that was, if you get to the park, you don't have a ticket to get into Star Wars Night. You get a boarding group, say you're the last boarding group of the night, but your boarding group gets called during the event, so you can't go on the ride because you don't have a ticket to the ride, to the event. I guess it's sort of it could be like a logistics type thing when it comes to the boarding groups as well, because then how are the people going to be able to get boarding groups, I guess, for the after hours event? I mean, I guess there could be a way if they get to the park. I don't know. I'm trying to think in my mind how that would work out, but I'm not. Can I
just say something? If this event were like the Alice in Wonderland event, I don't think we'd be having this discussion because the ride wouldn't need that significant amount of a maintenance. Now, I understand that, Alex, Alice in Wonderland is a very simple ride system. It doesn't take nearly as much. I get that, believe me. But maybe there's a point where the ride is so ahead of its time that it's actually not efficient to even have it, because it's like, well, if you can't get it up and running in a decent amount of time or have it closed down in a decent amount of time, is it really an efficient ride to have? I mean, look at, the Indiana Jones Adventure. It was also years ahead of its time, and even up through the early 2000s, it broke down so much that it was just an unreliable ride. Nowadays, it's, after all these years, it's kind of like, now we've got it down. We know how to, we know how to close down the ride and whatever. And it doesn't break down nearly as often as it used to. But it's still one of those things where it's like, well, if it's breaking down all the time and if it takes so long to maintenance it and it's that expensive, is it really the best option for a ride system?
Mm-hmm.
I have to wonder that. I mean, I'm not saying that makes it any less awesome. I mean, it's a complicated question. I understand. I mean, it's like, it's a complicated question because on one hand, it's a really awesome ride, but on the other hand, it's like, it's never open.
I'm going to add to that, Alex. Like Disney, I think Disney Imagineers, they literally they put a little bit too much technology into there and not enough common sense, because a lot of things in there, it's just like they do it. It's just so overly complicated. The tracking system, the first elevator goes into, it locks in place, it unlocks, it switches Wi-Fi signals, then it goes to the top floor and it goes into another elevator, it switches Wi-Fi signals and locks itself in. It's so flipping complicated. I mean, I wish they did the same thing as with Transformers. Like, if you know Transformers and Universal, this is not Disney, I know, sorry, but like Transformers, they do have an elevator and they do have turntables, so it's kind of similar to Rise of Resistance. But then it's done so effortlessly that it barely breaks down. It's a very complicated ride, but because of the fact that they use a rail and instead of constantly trying to switch Wi-Fi signals, it's a lot more efficient and a lot more reliable compared to Rise. So I'm just like, dude, they didn't really make this like super duperly complicated or like I don't know I'm going this, but like I personally think they really overcomplicated Rise when they really didn't have.
Yeah, I just feel like it's kind of like you know how like 4 years ago they started introducing 8K TVs, and it's like there's not even any 8K stuff out there. Like, why are you releasing a TV so soon? It's like, I feel like that's the same thing for Rise. Like, it's awesome, the technology, the way that it works, it's awesome, but it's kind of like, well, the ride is too new for its own good. Like, it's too complicated for its own good. Like, is that, like, it's, I don't know. Maybe I should stop talking.
Well, anyways, nonetheless, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below, whether you think Rise of the Resistance should be available during this upcharge Disneyland After Dark Star Wars Nite at Disneyland. And again, it is happening August 27th, so, I mean, they might not go back on what they said and have it open during that time, but again, it's highly unlikely that they'll, reverse play an Uno reverse card on us and have the ride open for the event. But anyways, before we get into our final topic of the day, let's go ahead and take a quick break here to hear about the show's sponsors. If you guys are wondering where you can find even more family-friendly live streams just like this one, head on over to theliveplace.com. The Live Place is your headquarters for great family-friendly live streams. They cover anything from Disney to other vacation spots, various variety shows, and have some amazing streamers like Resort TV 1 and myself. Also, be sure to check out puckermint.com, where you can find amazing pins and stickers. Puckermint is based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, just a few hours from where I live, and since I'm a big believer in supporting local artists, we decided to partner up. Be sure to use the coupon code down below when you make your next order. Again, that's puckermint.com and puckermint on Instagram.
I see. Okay.
And we're back, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Matterhorn Mondays, you guys. Great episode so far. But for our final topic, we promised it in the beginning. Should Disneyland have become a resort? And again, this is sort of continuing on the, or I guess building off of the discussion we had last week with Jeremy. We sort of touched on this. Should Disneyland have become a resort? Now, we know back when California Adventure opened, Downtown Disney opened, what was the hotel? Grand Californian opened. Disney sort of rebranded Disneyland Park as this whole resort destination, trying to, make it the West Coast. I almost messed up. Making it the West Coast version of the Walt Disney World Resort. And we all know how, I guess it's important to point out the difference between Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World Resort, because Disneyland, when it first opened, 1955, was not planned to be this huge, elaborate resort destination, resort destination of the world, basically. It was this little park Walt made for, for his kids to enjoy, for everybody else to enjoy. That was it. But then when the idea of Walt Disney World came into his mind, he, built off of Disneyland. He realized the mistakes that he made when it came to buying around land around the park as well. So all these crappy, other businesses didn't ruin the magic of the park. He bought all this land, then he died, and then the rest of the company had to take over, and they built Walt Disney World into this very, I guess impressive is a good word to use, a very impressive resort destination in Florida, centered around, of course, the Magic Kingdom and all the other 3 parks that opened after it, all these amazing hotels, dining, Disney Springs now. So it's important to make note of that when we're comparing these two things, just because Disneyland was not planned to be a resort, this big resort destination, whereas Walt Disney World from the get-go was planned to be this huge multi-day experience, where families could stay on property, spend maybe a week, exploring the parks, exploring the surrounding activities, golf courses, Disney Springs, all that stuff. So let's start with Mr. Alex. Should Disneyland have become a resort?
So, before I give my opinion, I do have to add on to what Matt was saying about what Disneyland was supposed to be, because if I just go off and do my opinion, people might not understand why I have that opinion. So, Disneyland, Walt did hope that the world would accept Disneyland as a fun and popular place to be. But that being said, the idea for Disneyland always began as a little park for people to enjoy their time, since going to his studio and taking a studio tour wasn't really all that exciting. It wasn't what it was cracked up to be. You know, the studio was a studio, but people in their minds thought that they were going to go to this magical place, and it's just a backlot, you know. So the idea was to create a small park that people could feel like they were in a Disney movie, and it would supply them with that feeling of magic. So when Disneyland started growing into this bigger idea, and they had to buy property in Anaheim, far away from the studio, then it became more of like, well, you know, maybe Disneyland will be a place for mostly locals and maybe some people traveling from the other side of the country. And also keep in mind that as popular as Disney was back then, it wasn't nearly as popular as it is today, especially since, you know, the partnerships with Lucasfilm and, you know, and then now Marvel, several other properties, and Fox now, you know, Disney was just Disney movies, and there wasn't that many of them on their roster in 1955. So it was designed to be a small little place for people in Southern California to visit on their day off. A lot like going to the beach, except instead of going to the beach, you go to Disneyland. And the park was designed for a maximum capacity of 17,000 people back then, with a probable capacity of 40,000. That being if they developed the land that was already within the boundaries of the railroad. And then as the park grew, they expanded the boundaries of the railroad, where today, now the park's capacity is closer to 90,000. I think it's 88,000 now is the park's capacity, which includes Galaxy's Edge. So the thing is that obviously, I don't even have to say this, but obviously, just because your park can handle 88,000 people doesn't mean that's a comfortable experience. It just means that's as many people as you can squeeze in there before the fire department tells you to close down. So, so that being said, Disneyland was built with all these narrow walkways, and even the walkways weren't designed for massive crowds of people. It was originally the park, the lands didn't interconnect. They were dead ends. You entered Adventureland, there was a dead end. Entered Frontierland, there was a dead end, and so on and so forth. And so as the years went by and the park became more crowded, they had to interconnect the lands so that way you can get around a lot easier. But then that isolated certain places and made certain walkways impossible to expand and whatnot. I mean, the thing goes on and on. But the problem is that when they decided to turn it into Disneyland Resort and added California Adventure and stuff like that, it was designed so those locals would come in and spend an extra day or two. And instead of just being here for the day and going back home, they might stay on a resort property and then be here for a couple days, because that motto has worked really well for Walt Disney World. It makes them a lot of money. And so they thought we could make a lot of money at Disneyland Resort. But even Walt Disney knew the park was not designed for that. It was just designed to be a locals place. And so that's what Walt Disney World was for. Because it, as weird as it may be, the Walt Disney World Resort is phenomenal at absorbing crowds. I think in any given day, there can be over 500,000 people staying at the resort, or on resort property at least. And it's like incredible how many people can be on that property. But Disneyland, the maximum amount of people the resort can hold on any given day is about 150,000 people. So all that being said, my opinion is I don't think Disneyland should have become a resort. And that pains me to say because I am enamored with the idea of Walt Disney World. The idea that you can walk around for hours and hours on this resort property and still be on a Disney property. It's amazing to me. And even today, when I go to Disneyland and I walk around the Disneyland Hotel, I get that little feeling that you get when you walk around Walt Disney World, where you're lost in a world of Disney. But then that feeling ends very briefly because the hotels here are much smaller properties than they are at Walt Disney World. So I like the idea, but the problem is that logistically the park is not designed to comfortably handle that amount of people. And especially when you're trying to watch fireworks and stuff, Hub and Main Street fill up really fast and uncomfortably. But you go to Walt Disney World and their hub is massive, so they can hold a ton of people and they can all look in the same direction and see the fireworks from a very very consistent point of view. All that stuff, everything was thought about at Walt Disney World. And even the way Disneyland is designed, there's no interconnecting tunnels to help them with things like garbage collection, moving of merchandise and food, that kind of thing. That at Walt Disney World, that happens real easily because they have a whole network of ways to get stuff around quite easily. But Disneyland is much harder. And lastly, just because you expand a park, its boundaries, doesn't mean that it's going to be easier to get people in and out of that park. Main Street has remained the same size, and though they have added the extra walkways on either side, it's not a very well themed experience, and so it's like it messes with the look of Disneyland. So no, I think Disneyland should have stayed a regular locals place, and maybe had an extra hotel or two for people to stay on property, but it just wasn't designed for this Galaxy's Edge kind of thing. It's too much for this little park.
Chris, what about you?
So when we say resort, do we mean like what Disneyland could have become or what Disneyland has become? That's my question.
Has become.
Yeah, I feel like we can maybe get into a separate discussion later about what it could have become. But right now it's what it is now.
I agree with Alex because the thing is, when they try to convert Disneyland into a resort, what happened was Disneyland Paris failed and it started to bring down the company very slowly. And this is during a time Disney was very, very, very they were losing money basically. So basically, on a money saving measure, they axed Westcott and they put in California Adventure. I mean that park, as we know, is pretty bad. But what I'm saying is, I'm pretty sure on top of the park budget cuts, they also budget cut a lot of the amenities of the resort. So probably like the hotels, the downtown Disney, the parking, everything. So because of that one thing, it kind of led to the slow decline or recession of Disneyland Resort. So I think it could have been great, but the one we got now, I really don't think it should have become a resort because honestly, like it's I don't know how to explain it. It's just when you compare to what they did in Disney World, that their infrastructure they already had, it's just our infrastructure is just not designed for any of it. I mean, yeah. I agree with Alex. I can't really add anything else outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's also hard because it's almost like Disneyland had to become a resort at some point. Maybe not in the early 2000s, but at some point it would have had to, because when you start a company is designed to get bigger. If it doesn't get bigger, then it gets stagnant or it goes out of business. So you can't keep a company the same size no matter how much you want to. It just, things don't work that way. You're either going to fail or you're going to do really well to grow. So Disneyland is kind of that way. Disneyland, it became so successful as a locals place, and as Orange County and LA became more and more and more populated, more and more locals kept going. I mean, to the point where Disneyland Resort has close to, I think, 2.5 million annual pass holders just for Disneyland Resort. And that's people who have annual passes all up and down the California coast. And some of them come here frequently, like I do, like every week. And some of them come here once, every 2 months or so, when they drive down or take a train or whatever. So it's kind of like it almost had to be. But I feel like that's the very problem with Disneyland, was it just wasn't designed to be that way, and no one knew it was going to happen like that. And it's just not, and so the thing is that maybe going into the other discussion, if I can.
Yeah.
About like what maybe it should have been, is it kind of would have had to be a resort. But I think they should have kept some of the Westcott ideas. I mean, maybe not necessarily have a Westcott, because as you know, look at what happened to Epcot. Now it's being completely redone to be more of a Disney theme park than it was in Epcot. And so maybe now Westcott wouldn't have really worked, now that you think about it. But I think that the ideas that they had there for like using the monorail as a mass transit and stuff like that, I think that really could have worked, because one of the biggest problems with Disneyland Resort is getting around. It's not entirely easy enough to get around the resort without walking. And you could take the monorail, but you have to have a valid park admission into Disneyland in order to use the monorail system. And what if you're only going to, to California Adventure that day? You can't use the monorail to get, from one place to another. You have to walk, so there's that. And then the fact that the hotels have a weird way of interconnecting with each other. Like, imagine trying to walk from Paradise Pier Hotel into Disneyland. That's a long walk, and there's no shuttles that take you to the front. There isn't, and there should be. So if you look at, you brought up an image of the resort prior to DCA. So yeah, as you can see from that image, that might be a high def image. You might be able to zoom into that. Okay, you did. Okay, sorry. I'm watching this on the live stream, so it's got a 7-second delay. But maybe if I switch over to the other screen. But anyway, they had this idea of making the monorail go to both parks and stop at two major resorts on the property. Disneyland Hotel would have been demolished and rebuilt into a much larger facility and stuff like that, and everything would have been Disney Worldified, if you will. So everything would have been designed around the guest experience. The only thing would have been the problem of Disneyland itself. Walking around Westcott would have been a breeze, and getting around Westcott would have been a breeze. But getting around Disneyland would have been just as hard as it is right now, because it would have still been very difficult to get around. So I think going into the future, if Disneyland Resort is going to succeed and continue to grow, we need to see some major changes that are quite controversial. I think what we need to see is them demolish some major parts of Disneyland, such as Main Street, and rebuild them from the ground up with a different design to allow for better traffic flow, as well as demolish certain areas of the park to interconnect the walkways much wider, such as maybe rerouting and resizing the Jungle Cruise in order to make way for a much larger walkway that gets you through New Orleans Square. And then connecting Galaxy's Edge with Toontown, and then the walkway from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland is extremely narrow. They might need to create a very large walkway that will displace the submarine voyage. So there's a lot of radical ideas in there, but the thing is if you want nice traffic flow, if you want the park to be comfortable, you need to start bringing in a bulldozer. That's just the way it's going to have to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Those are controversial changes. And I think we've even talked about this at some point in prior episodes of how guest flow can be improved in the park. Yeah, those are the big ones. Demolishing Main Street, I remember us talking about that as well, rebuilding it bigger. And it is very, I don't know. It all comes back to Westcott for me. You look at this piece of concept art and you think, wow, that could have been something. Again, these labels, the numbers are supposed to be like labeled in like a legend or something, but it doesn't, the image doesn't have it attached for some reason. I'm assuming these two are 10 and 10 are parking structures. Of course, one here is the new Disneyland Hotel. It's been a while since I've looked at this concept art, but yeah, if you look, and there's even other pieces of concept art about the Westcott project, about, I think even like, I don't know like the right word, like making the streets, what is this, Harbor Boulevard and Catella, all that stuff, making them like the infrastructure for the streets looking, even just like visually looking more pleasing as well. I can't remember if there was like talks of like expanding to more lanes or whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've looked at this Westcott concept art. But yeah, for me, it does really all come back to Westcott. The use of the monorail, like Alex said, as an actual, mode of transportation between the hotel, Disneyland, as well as California Adventure or Westcott, whatever. And I think there was even a people mover, right? There was a people mover that was supposed to be taking guests from the hotel or the parking structure to the Esplanade, I think.
It wasn't going to be like the people mover we think of, but it was going to be a lot like the trams at, like, let's say Atlanta International. Sure, yeah. So it's going to be those back and forth things, which I don't think would have worked even today with how popular the resort is. But there would have had to be some kind of transit system to get you to the front gates of Disneyland. And the Esplanade would have had to be a lot bigger than it is today. Like, if you look at the concept art, that Esplanade would extend into what is today Buena Vista Street. That's how big that Esplanade would have had to be. Again, like, I wish that they would have built Westcott, because even though we would have had to read today to be modern, it still would have been able to help the resort absorb a lot more people, and it would have looked beautiful. It would have looked master planned. Like it was designed to be this big place,
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I do agree, but the thing is about Alex's changes to the parks is the thing. What was it? I'm pretty sure when they were trying to expand Disneyland into a resort, they wanted to keep Disneyland as similar as possible. So that's why they wanted to dump money into the second park to put most of the crowds into the other park to kind of simmer down the crowds at Disneyland. That's why when the first media day on California Adventure, when it first opened, they were like, oh my God, we expected there to be so many people in California Adventure. Like, people are going to be flooding over to California Adventure. Disneyland's going to be empty. That's what they said on the opening day. And opening day, I think it got like 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So the idea was to attract the people from the Disneyland resort and to stuff them into other park so that they don't need to upgrade the Disneyland resort for a longer period of time. That's what I'm guessing they wanted to do.
You're right. Disney thought that if they had a popular second park, then they could level out the crowds at Disneyland Resort. But here's the problem, people. This is what Disney learned the hard way after redoing DCA and creating Buena Vista Street, Cars Land, all that good stuff. They learned that idea doesn't work. People don't come to Disneyland Resort just for one park. They come for both. So no matter what, the Disneyland is going to stay crowded while the other park still has people. So it's like, you're not going to get this either or thing. It's going to be both. And so you can't steal crowds from Disneyland. It doesn't work that way. Instead, what you have to do is you have to expand Disneyland in order to handle more crowds. And that's what Disney has learned. And that's what they're currently working to fix, in which they are. They're currently working to fix it. But it's a really slow progress.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we can sort of loop back to those changes. What changes would you make to Disneyland to, I don't know, improve crowd flow, because we are now already, Disneyland is already technically labeled as a resort, whether we like it or not. We already have California Adventure. That's not going anywhere. They're not going to completely demolish California Adventure and, rebuild it or whatever. We have the 3 hotels. We have Downtown Disney. And we have Disneyland. Parking structures, all that stuff too. Yeah, I guess we can focus on Disneyland. What changes, Alex sort of already mentioned some of them. What changes would you guys make to Disneyland to sort of improve the flow of guests, just to sort of, ease up to this sort of resort, all these people coming to Disneyland?
Who should start first?
Let's start with Chris first, since Alex.
You choose that. Okay. I think this is kind of the approach that goes against Alex, which I'm pretty sure. But I think if they, instead of putting all the expansion in Disneyland, and they instead of putting everything in Disneyland, they put everything in California Adventure. The Runaway, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway, it's hard to say. Put it in California Adventure. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, put it in California Adventure. If you put both those expansions in California Adventure, I'm pretty confident that Disneyland's crowds will go down massively. Even though, Alex, you did say that they do go to both parks, which is true, but then people will spend more time in California Adventure, dragging more people away from Disney. That's what I think that they should have done. Yes.
No, see, it's like the freeway problem. People say you add more lanes to a freeway, and those people that were normally filling up those crowded lanes will instead go to the new lane. Well, true, but then guess what happens? The freeway becomes less crowded, and then more people get on the freeway because it's less crowded. So adding more lanes to a freeway doesn't actually help. You have to go a whole different route. So even if you put all the most exciting rides like Mickey and Minnie's and all that in DCA, yes, you'll have more people spending more time there, but it's not going to be entirely those same people. Those people that now walked over to DCA are going to be replaced with people who are going, oh, I'm just here for Disneyland. So it's it's kind of like, it's kind of like what happened with Galaxy's Edge. It was the park opened, and because everyone was scared away, the park was kind of busy. I'm sorry, it was kind of empty because everyone was scared away from the park. But then, after all the YouTubers, including me and Matt, tell everybody that the park is empty, now it's crowded like heck because everyone thinks they're going to come into an uncrowded park. So that's the thing, is you're gonna fill up everything. So now we segue to my idea. Ooh. So first of all, Disneyland, in my opinion, is gonna keep getting more and more crowded. The best you can do is keep trying to adjust the park. So my first idea is we need a lot more people eating rides. We need to stop building rides that have very low capacity, no matter how exciting they are. I mean, Smuggler's Run is really cool, but they had to build 4 turntables, 4 massive multi-acre turntable rooms in order to accommodate enough guests. I mean, that ride is almost twice as big as the Haunted Mansion and can barely pull in the same amount of people that the Haunted Mansion can. We need more rides that absorb the crowds. And so therefore, I think my roommate's coming home, so I'm afraid my dog's going to run out. Hopefully he doesn't. Anyway, so you need more rides that can absorb people, and that would be people moving rides. So we need to bring back the People Mover. We need Space Mountain to have 2 separate tracks. We need Matterhorn to be redesigned to hold way more guests. I mean, a complete rebuild of that ride to hold more guests. Mm-hmm. We need rides that are popular, like Peter Pan. That needs to be either moved or redesigned so it'll hold way more passengers, twice as many as it currently does.
Sure, yeah.
Things like that. So we need a lot of people moving rides. And then for the walkways, this is where it gets really expensive. You need to look at the crowd flow and go, you know what? We need to take a bulldozer to certain areas of the park and then just turn that into a better designed walk. So you look at from Fantasyland to Big Thunder Trail is like this really narrow path that needs to be redesigned so there's like this better flow. So I'm not talking just about pushing planters away and stuff like that. That's amateur. We're talking like bulldozing whole rides to make way for better walkway flow. And I know a lot of people don't like that idea, but the park is just going to keep getting more and more crowded. And you guys don't like it when Disney raises the prices to prevent more people from coming in. So what is Disney left to do? This is it. This is the answer. You need to downsize certain rides like Jungle Cruise to make way for wider walkways. You need to remove certain rides like the Submarine Voyage, because no matter what you do to that ride, it's never going to get enough passenger flow. And it's also blocking a possible major walkway connecting Fantasyland to Tomorrowland. So oh, look, there's a good example of the monorail. But yeah, and then the monorail system needs to be expanded. That reminded me. Yeah, the monorail system needs to be expanded. The idea of using the parking trams is pretty cool to get people around, but the problem is I feel like it's just not good enough. You need something more permanent. And so I think like a type of people mover system to get people around would be better. So all in all, we're talking about redoing most of the rides in Disney to hold more passengers by at least double.
Well, I guess
I also think.
Oh no, go ahead.
I also think they should remove Fast Pass. Fast Pass increases the waits tremendously. I tell this story to every single person. I told you this story, this little thing already, Alex. It's like on the last day of California Screaming, I was there, right? They were running Fast Pass for the whole day, and the line was insane. It went out into the pier, the boardwalk pier area where the signage is, and back and forth at least 3 times. And that line was about 3 to 4 hours. A very long wait for California Screaming. They were running Fast Passes. But guess what? After Roar of Color, they stopped running Fast Passes, and now people are just walking on and walking off. I walked on for the last day ever, and the line was out on the pier, went back and forth, I swear, 4 times. And we got through the whole entire queue within 20 minutes. 3 to 4 hours, 20 minutes without Fast Pass. So Fast Pass incredibly slows down things. So if you pump people through the parks faster, through the rides faster, people have less of an incentive to stay in the parks. I know you lose money, obviously, but then you get less crowds as a result of. What is that picture, Matt?
Detailed view of Disneyland Plaza with a monorail station and 2 people mover stations. So like the Esplanade, I guess.
See, that would have also been better. Yeah, I like that idea so much more. But yeah, I agree with Chris. People need to abandon the idea that Fast Pass makes things easier, because it doesn't. The park worked so much easier back when we didn't have Fast Pass, and Fast Pass isn't designed for your convenience. Fast Pass is designed so that way it'll make you spend money. It just is. It's just a fact of life. So it's like we need to get rid of
taxes and Fast Pass.
There's a reason why they make every single person in Disney World reserve 3 Fast Passes. There's a reason why they want to force the Fast Pass system onto you. It's not like, oh, it's a convenience. No, they're trying to force it on, so people use it and it increases the crowd. They're purposely doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
This model right here is probably in a dump somewhere right now, which is kind of sad.
Could be in the archives.
Maybe. I mean,
could be.
I'm betting money that it's in a landfill somewhere. But anyways, yeah, I guess it all really does come back to bulldozing major areas of the park. Someone asked in chat, Cesar Lopez said, Alex, as someone who has worked in the parks, would it be feasible to connect or expand Main Street to Tomorrowland? I'm assuming he's either meaning, a walkway from Main Street to Tomorrowland, or widening Main Street, so it pushes further into Tomorrowland and, to the left, the Jungle Cruise.
So, yes, it's possible. But the thing is it would take some major work backstage. And what people would have to do is they wouldn't be able to go from the middle of Main Street to Tomorrowland. They'd have to go from Town Square to Tomorrowland. And the way that they could do that is at the exit of Space Mountain, underneath the building. At the exit of Space Mountain is this restroom area. And then where you can buy your photos and some souvenirs and whatever from Space Mountain. There's some large doors back there by the restrooms. Those doors connect to the backside of that area of Main Street, which is a huge open space. They would need to build a walkway that either goes... Okay, so they would need to build a walkway that either goes up and over the backstage area and then back down onto Main Street, or they would need to build it so it slightly goes up and over, but then they dig out the backstage to go underneath it, because it's essential for the ambulances to be able to get from the Main Street First Aid Center and out of the park. So they need to build driveways that can go underneath this guest walkway path that connects Town Square to Tomorrowland. But it is possible because they've done stuff like that before. So
can't they do like a gate system, like what they do in the Jones? They have like two massive doors and they open it up to take the equipment through, but instead with the ambulances?
They could. I mean, they do. Chris, is what they do.
Wait. You cut off, Alex. I didn't catch anything you said.
Okay. What you just described is what they do for Fantasyland. So there's this area on Big Thunder Trail where the main road can connect to behind the area of Snow White's by crossing over Big Thunder Trail. There's these sets of two massive doors on either side of you, and they can actually shut those doors on both ends. Like, it's kind of weird. Like there's the north end of the Big Thunder Trail, and then there's the south end, and the doors, they can open them up and they'll shut off the walkway, and that allows them to get an ambulance backstage without you ever seeing it happen. So they can do that backstage and have a walkway that goes directly to... I didn't even think about that, honestly. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, they could do that. So yeah, it is possible. I don't know why Disney hasn't done it yet, except for the fact that it's just costs a lot of money, and they would probably need to theme it, make it look nice.
It'll probably piss off a lot of the Disneyland purists.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem.
Isn't that
we are our
wall is the test wall? Everyone calls it.
What?
The test, that's where the test wall is. Wall that has multiple different brick designs on it.
No, the test wall is in the middle of Main Street. I said the only way you can get from Main Street to Tomorrowland is through Town Square. So you have to go. You know where the entrance to the backstage to the overflow walkway is underneath the livery?
Yes.
You can enter through there, but then when you make that immediate right, that right would have to go straight to the exit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because in Tokyo Disney Sea, where that in the middle of Main Street, if you take a right, you actually can walk directly into Tomorrowland. I thought that's what you were saying. Tokyo Disneyland, excuse me. You walk directly to the middle of Main Street into Tomorrowland.
Yeah, but you see, you wouldn't be able to do that at Disneyland because they would need to put all their special services in that area when they redesign backstage. So they would still need a locker room building, which I think they need a bigger one. And yeah, so yeah, it is possible. It's just that Disney hasn't done it yet, and I think that it's been long overdue for us to have one. And yeah, they could do it the way Chris said, which you could have special double doors that always stay closed and permit people to walk back and forth. But then when you open the double doors, you close off the walkway and allow ambulances through or maintenance vehicles through, which they can do. They do it on Big Thunder Trail all the time.
Yeah, I think, I guess it really just comes down to the main problem when it comes to this discussion is just the land not owned by Disney that surrounds the park. That's really, I feel like, the main thing. I guess the main like barrier that Disney is trying to find ways around. And they've tried.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you, so you can keep going.
Okay, well, I was gonna say they tried to find some way around it with like the Eastern Gateway proposal that they made a few years ago. That was like 3 years ago, I think. 2 or 3 years ago. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about, oh my gosh, we're so excited for the Eastern Gateway, and then it got canceled. But yeah, I feel like for me, it really just does come down to all this empty space that we see here in this map. To the right, what is that? The east? I don't know directions. Down here to the bottom, all that empty space. I'm sure would cost a lot of money for Disney to buy up that land, but yeah, for me, that's really what it comes down to.
Well, I had heard a rumor a long time ago, and this predates the Eastern Gateway, but that there was a backup plan in mind for the city. You see, because Disney means a lot to the city, more than what the city will let you know of. They are the main driver for the reason why the city is so financially successful. So there was a rumor that what the city wanted to do was, in the future, if Disney needed to expand to the east, that they could reroute Harbor Boulevard starting from Ball Road. And then once you cross Ball Road and start heading south towards Disneyland, the road will start curving to the left. This is if you're going southbound, but it'll start curving to the left and kind of make this large half oval that goes further away from Disneyland Resort and then reconnects back to Catella at the south. So it will create this kind of half oval of extra space around the resort. And that was what the city was thinking about doing if Disney needed to expand the resort in order to give them more room. That would allow for Tomorrowland to expand further to the east, and that would allow for some more backstage space and for parts of DCA to expand as well. And that would mean that this road, if you look at that old map that you have up on screen, that would mean that the road, Harbor Boulevard, would get pretty close to those two parking structures that they never actually built, the 10 and 10. So the road would actually go right next to those and then come back down to Catella. So no, you're still looking at it wrong. It goes, they would curve it starting from Harbor and Ball Road. So before the freeway, Harbor and Ball Road, okay. And then it would start curving around and then continue all the way south towards Catella, coming back to its original intersection.
Mm-hmm.
So north of the freeway and then crossing over the freeway over a brand new bridge and then coming down and reconnecting with Catella and Harbor. But anyway, that was their idea for rerouting Harbor Boulevard. And it would give the west side of Disneyland up to 10 acres of more space to expand into with extra backstage space, including it and stuff like that. But then the other thing too is that I always felt that what they should do is they should take all the stuff that was north of Toontown, all that backstage stuff, move it to Toy Story Lot, and then expand Disneyland further north all the way up to Ball Road, taking up all that space that was once backstage. But now that they're building Mickey and Minnie's there, that's kind of not really a possibility.
What about the fireworks, Alex?
Well, Disney plans to get rid of fireworks anyway, so that's not really...
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it really, like I said, comes down as well to just Harbor Boulevard. Maybe just getting rid of Harbor Boulevard altogether.
Oh,
and
you
just
can't. You can't.
I mean, anything's possible, Alex, if you believe hard enough.
No, it's not.
What if Disney were to pay enough to get rid of Harbor Boulevard just altogether? I mean, I guess that would really mess up the free, because where would you exit off? I mean, I guess they could make it so you have to enter through, like, what is the other entrance to one of the parking structures? So you have to enter through there, make that exit only for Disney, and then I don't know. It's kind of
fun fact for you.
I'm sure they've thought of this too.
The Disney Way exit off of the freeway was originally designed for how you could get to Disneyland Resort. And now they don't even use that exit anymore for telling people to get to Disneyland Resort. Interesting little fun fact. But anyway, you can't just get rid of Harbor Boulevard in that area. I don't think you understand. Harbor Boulevard is 15 miles long. It connects one end of Orange County with the other. It is a major, major thoroughfare. And if you got rid of that section of Harbor Boulevard, it would create a traffic catastrophe.
Put it underground.
That was another idea. So the other idea was once people crossed the area of Ball Road and Harbor, that instead of going over the freeway, it would go under the freeway and then continue underground through the whole length of Disneyland Resort and pop back up again just in time to meet up with Catella and Harbor. That way, Disney could create a series of land bridges that connect to the other side of the road, and the city would use their power of eminent domain to clear all those hotels out of the area for Disney's future expansion. Which is why I was saying that there's a possibility in the future that if we have our third park, would take up that whole area to the east of Harbor Boulevard.
Okay, interesting.
But again, all of it would be connected with land bridges.
Yeah, I guess like Disney. I'm sure Disney's thought of all of what we're talking about. I'm sure they've put a lot of thought into this this subject. Nope. I mean, I guess that's fair, but I'm sure they've been pitching, I'm sure, these ideas that we've been talking about, and maybe there's a reason why none of them haven't happened yet. Too much money, too much outcry from the businesses that would have to be moved or demolished on Harbor Boulevard. Put the businesses underground too. Fixed it. Have that IHOP underground.
Literally or like financially?
Oh, I mean, I meant literally. Like literally put the IHOP underneath the ground. World's first underground IHOP. But yeah, I don't know. This is a really, I'm sure we could talk for a while about this, but I'd love to hear what everyone else has to say about this topic, because I'm sure you guys would have a lot of great ideas that you could spitball. Maybe some not great ideas. That's fine too. We're okay with everything. You type in the comments. But anyways, I feel like that is going to wrap up this week's episode of Matterhorn Mondays. Thank you all for coming to today's episode. Do you guys have any final thoughts you'd like to say on any of the topics we talked about?
Nope.
Not really.
All right. Well, you guys know the drill. Alex's channel and Chris's channel will be linked down in the description below, as well as their Twitters and all their social things as well.
By the way, on my channel, today is where you can play the free prize giveaway on my channel by watching my latest vlog, which will premiere at 3 p.m. Disneyland time.
That is...
So if you'd like... Yes. So if you'd like to play
2
and
hours?
try to win, yes, 2 hours. So if you'd like to play and try to win, be sure to tune in for my latest vlog. And those who can play must live within the lower 48 continental United States. So Alaska, Hawaii, or anywhere outside the U.S., sorry, but can't.
You guys are SOL. Hate to say it. You're shoot out of luck. That's not really what it stands for, but anyways, you guys know the drill. Links to everything will be down in the description, as well as links to all the all of the articles we refer to. They'll be down in the description as well. And I guess it's time to say goodbye, you guys. I hate to do it every time. Say goodbye. We gotta wait another week to talk to you all, but I'm hungry, and I totally ordered Cane's, you guys. I did not go on back on what you said about Five Guys, but my food's here, so it's time to end the show. And again, thank you all for coming to today's episode, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.